Hello and welcome to Telon Times. I'm Jeremy. This is the video cast all about the classic MMORPG Vanguard, Saga of Heroes. This is episode 1. We're going to talk about some of the initial changes Vanguard's going to be going under soon, whether it'll bring back a bunch of new people, and how people might react to it who never played a game like this and grew up on games like World of Warcraft. So if you're new to the game or a returning veteran, you might want to stay tuned, and you can always comment and give your opinions in the comments below. So the game is going free to play this summer. We don't know exactly when, but Sony Online Entertainment has made it known. There's been multiple posts on all the MMO gaming sites out there, so we do know it's going free to play, and they have a new development team that has is returning to ramp up development on this kind of aging game that has kind of been collecting dust for a while. So I personally am ecstatic to find out that they're actually continuing development on it. This is one of those games where they kind of just left a skeleton crew on the game for years, and just to make sure it didn't completely fall apart. But now they're actually going to ramp up new development with content and cool stuff. I can't wait. So so now that it's going free to play, will this bring in new players? Will this breathe new life into this kind of aging game? You know, yes and no, I think. On the yes side, I think definitely new players will be wanting to check it out. It's part of Sony Online Entertainment's lineup of games, and I think they'll be advertising a little bit more. I mean, the news sites are already giving it more advertisement. I think some new players and veterans have already come into the game. Veterans have returned, and new players trying it for the first time. But when it actually hits, I'm skeptical, unfortunately, that it will bring, new life into the game. While some people might come in, unfortunately I think it's going to always be a niche game, and I think it's going to be a niche because when Vanguard came out, it came out about a year or two after World of Warcraft. So if you look at what World of Warcraft did to the MMO industry, we might be able to glean a little bit of information, or at least reasoning that I'm going through of why it might never become popular again. World of Warcraft set the stage for the very fast-paced combat, a little bit more of a video game kind of feel to it, right? A little bit more of like a Mega Man video game. We're definitely playing a video game kind of feel to it, rather than I want to be a role player living in a gigantic virtual fantasy world, and from that point of view. So Vanguard came out a year or two later and tried to steer the industry different. This is back in a day and age in MMO history when the industry kind of hadn't solidified which direction it wanted to go. And World of Warcraft kind of proved and shown the entire gaming industry a very profitable direction that people could head. And that's what they did. World of Warcraft made it streamlined with the questing and the dungeons and the gear progression. And a lot of people followed suit, and the industry kind of solidified with that idea, and they ran with it. And even till today, things might be changing a little bit. Like, for instance, Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is boasting the giant world, more choice and option for players. And this, you have to understand, this is not new. This is not a new thing. This is in a way, it's a return to the old. Vanguard, for instance, has a gigantic world. It does that. It's a gigantic world with tons of things to do in it. There are differences, though. But I'm talking in general, on a broad scale. That in general, Vanguard was all about trying to push the MMO industry into kind of living in a giant virtual world kind of thing, you know, where everybody can pretend that they really do live in Telon, you know, that kind of thing, that kind of a real potent imagination. But WoW kind of won out, and the industry kind of went that way. So that's what we're left with. That's not bad. It's just different. I like World of Warcraft. I like parts of World of Warcraft over other parts. So, and you look at the industry. It's obviously preferred. I mean, these games are making tons of money, and players are flocking to them in droves. So it's definitely a good thing in that respect. But because of that, I don't think Vanguard will ever be popular again. And even with Guild Wars 2, like I was saying, Guild Wars 2 is kind of harkening back to olden days, but it's kind of a hybrid. They're going back that way a little bit, but combining it with new technology and new ideas in game design and new game design philosophy. And they're mixing all that stuff they've learned throughout the last 7 years that since Vanguard was created, and applying all that. Vanguard is very much tab targeting. It very much has elements of a theme park MMO. I would call it a theme park MMO, but because there's tons of dungeons and raids and bosses and armor to get, but at the same time there's tons of options and choices to do other things, which kind of got stripped out in games like World of Warcraft, Runes of Magic, and others. They started concentrating. They started finding out that, well, players really love just going through the dungeons, so we can back off on all this ancillary, secondary stuff. And it became very much about how can we heighten just this one or two experiences in the game. How can we make these one or two things more fun? And they kind of needed to take away all the other stuff, you know, because crafting got in the way, and like being able to craft good armor got in the way of the really fun raiding, because raiding they found could be more fun by providing the best weapons and equipment in the raids instead of through crafting. So crafting takes a back seat, raiding gets pumped up a little bit more, that kind of thing. Again, I'm not bashing. I'm just saying that's kind of the way things are, and it's proven to work. The MMO industry, people in it, they know what they're doing. They definitely know what they're doing. All you have to do is look at the popularity of everything. So that's the gist. I mean, I might have been repeating myself a little bit, but I try to. Whenever I repeat myself, I try to say my idea, and then I try to repeat that idea coming from a different angle. That I found that usually helps people better understand what I'm trying to say, especially if it's a big idea or what I think is a complex idea. And that leads into individual game systems. Vanguard does have crafting. It does have things like finding collectibles, or trying to think. I'm having a tough time coming up with all these ideas. You know, auction houses, mailboxes, standard MMO stuff. They have what they call missives, and they're basically daily quests. They have all that, but it's different. Take the combat, just combat alone, for instance. Let me see if I can kill this one thing right here. Yeah, we'll kill this. This is a level 9, I'm level 18. Fighting a level 9 character, right? You can see up in the upper right hand corner, you can see the enemy's health, level 9. And you can see mine in the top left. And I'm not using any skills right now, but I can. In a fight like this, I can kill it in 1 or 2 hits because on double its level. But enemies my level are going to take a lot longer to kill. So combat is a biggie in here. It's a slower pace to it. I don't necessarily believe slower paced combat means less action. I don't think that is a mathematical formula that makes sense to me. But, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. But I think it does matter to a lot of people. You know, these newer games, you get higher level, and you want to be able to just cut through people. Like in Dynasty Warriors, people are just cutting through dozens and dozens of enemies in seconds, and I think that heightens people's excitement, and that's something that's not really in Vanguard right at the moment. And also, crafting is very big in this game. It literally has its own interface, and it has phases. It can take a long time just to craft one thing. It has very many options to it. You do gather things, you chop down trees and gather ore and whatnot, and then you craft stuff. And for instance, you'll start a crafting window, and you have to go through the phases. Then you might get complications during those phases. There's dozens of different tools that all do different things, and you can get different quality of tools. So crafting is very deep. Just like gear in a gear-oriented game. It's all about numbers and different levels of these numbers. There's quality ratings, plus ratings, you know, all that kind of stuff that alters the item. Well, that stuff exists in crafting in Vanguard. You have minerals and salts and solvents that you can use to alter the outcome and quality of the weapon, and you can get the tools you need. You might not have them, that'll mess you up. There's actually crafting points that you have to pay attention to during the crafting process, because you spend them on different activities. So that's another thing. It's going to be insanely interesting to me to see how new players that want to try this game out, how they take to that. I'm interested in what they think about that. Are they going to be mad and flock to the forums and be like this is too slow, change it, and basically, you know, try to steer it towards what the popular stuff is right now, like World of Warcraft and what they do and what Runes of Magic does, and that's what a lot of people know. Or will these people kind of see it from a different light and be like, wow, this is different. You know, are we going to see the, you know, I'm just really interested in how people are going to react to this. Whether it's going to be, well, it also depends on how many people show up to the game when it goes free to play. So that's going to be, I mean, that's just, to me, I'm always interested in like the design philosophy and how people as human beings react to this stuff. So I'm hoping that, and things are never as straightforward as I say them. Things are never just black and white, especially when it comes to human beings, right? So, and I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or anything, or a counselor, so I just have a passing interest in it. But it will be interesting to see. Are people going to flock to the game and start yelling and saying, hey, I'm going through these dungeons and this reward doesn't make any sense. You should make this reward mean something and actually be useful to me. Or, you know, that kind of typical stuff you see in every game forum out there. I don't think that's, I hope that doesn't happen, because it really wouldn't be conducive to what Vanguard is. Vanguard is about providing all this different stuff. And it's not about distilling and concentrating all this stuff into like into such a concentrated form, and that you really only have one or two ways to go. But to me, I love Vanguard for what it is. It's huge. It gives you a million different things to do. But to do those million different things, you have to realize you need those million different items. You have to have value. You can't have your... Supposedly Guild Wars 2 is saying you can have your cake and eat it too. So we'll see. When that comes out, we'll see how they do that, because I'm curious about that as well. But that, I'm going to wrap up Telon Times episode 1 for now. Sorry it was a little haphazard, and I was like a little all over the place with my rambling rants. I'll try to tighten it up next time and be a little bit more, you know, show a little more self-control and have a little bit better of a game plan of the specific topics I want to address. But in closing, you can always comment and ask me questions or give me advice or whatever you want to do in the comments below. I'm also on Twitter. You can tweet me at Jeremy_Stratton. I'll put that along with other links to my website and anything else I find pertinent in the description below the video. I'm also going to try to release this every week. Every Sunday, I want to record it on Saturday so it gets released, because I have to convert it and take the time to upload it. So look for a new one next Sunday, and plenty of topics to talk about. All the individual systems I've been talking about just in general today, and as we get closer to the free-to-play launch, it'll be really, really interesting. So until next week, hopefully I hope you subscribe and stay tuned.